Sports play a big part in many towns in South Dakota. It can be a way to bring the community together, whether it's the town coming together to cheer the football team on a Friday night, or everyone going to cheer the girls' basketball team on its state. Regardless of the event you are at, you may find cheerleaders on the sidelines. Some may argue that the stuff they do on the sidelines is considered a sport itself, which brings me to my main subject, why sideline cheerleading is not a sport. I will be breaking this topic off into 3 main points. First, what even is a sport and its guidelines? Second, why sideline cheerleading should not be considered a sport. Finally, we will go into what separates sideline cheerleading and competitive cheerleading, and why competitive cheerleading is a sport. First, to get things started, what even is a sport? According to Oxford Dictionary online website in 2017, they state that a sport is an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment. So looking back at this, we can gather some information. It talks about how the sport requires physical energy and skill, which many things do, including sideline cheerleading. But the part of the definition that stands out to me the most is where it claims where the physical exertion and skill in an individual or team is used against a single opponent or team for entertainment. That part is what separates a sports from other hobbies or things you enjoy to do, is the competitive nature and competing against others. This all ties in now to bring the topic together. The definition of a sport alone helps my argument why sideline cheerleading is not a sport. It may have many characteristics that make it similar to a sport, like many things do, but it is still not a sport. If you go to a football game and there are cheerleaders helping cheer on the team, why would that be considered a sport on its own? Yes, they are using physical exertion and skill, but they are not competing in any way against anybody else. They are not competing against the other cheerleaders. There is no winner or loser in this situation. There is no one keeping score. They do spend a lot of time practicing doing things I would not be able to. From doing the splits in the air, getting lifted up by their other cheerleaders, to all the other crazy stunts they can do. Regardless, it is still not a sport. Even according to OmniCheer's online website agrees. It states that at a school sports game or pep rally, there is no competition for the cheerleaders. They're not competing or scoring points against another team. Now, some may think that I am saying competitive cheerleading is not a sport, which I think is. The things that separate competitive from sideline is very simple. Even though they both use physical exertion and skill, competitive cheerleaders are doing all of this as a team and competing against others. It fits every requirement of making it a sport. It has team competitions where the cheer squads come together to show their cheers and try to get the best overall score. People are keeping score of the teams to try to see who's going to win. This is what separates the two. Competitive is trying to outdo the other teams and win. In this persuasive speech today, I told you why sideline cheerleading is not a sport. I went over my 3 main points that included what even is a sport and what requirements make it one, then why sideline cheerleading should not be considered a sport by these guidelines, and then finally what separates sideline cheerleading and competitive cheerleading and what makes competitive a sport. I hope you see and understand my point of view and also agree on the subject.